Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic episode.
I'm Barry P. Cook. I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Superman and Lois. It was called Forever and Always. And, right away at the beginning, we start with Lois retching in the toilet with Clark by her side right before her fourth chemo treatment. And the boys suspect that they're not being told everything about her condition. Then we join Natalie, who seems to be freaking out a bit ahead of her boyfriend Mateo showing up at her place for lunch with her and her dad, of course, is John. Chrissy runs into Lana at the diner and things are awkward, even though Lana seems to be okay with what's happening between Chrissy and Kyle. Because Sarah isn't okay with it. Because Chrissy is 10 years younger than her dad and she thinks it's gross. While Lois is undergoing chemo next to Pia, who we now know is onomatopoeia, we get a flashback of Pia and Bruno Mannheim at dinner because apparently they're a thing, or he wants them to be a thing. Looking for answers about Lois, Jordan takes Jonathan to the Fortress of Solitude, where he grills Superman's mother, who of course is a hologram, about why she wouldn't treat Lois, which it turns out she won't do because she doesn't think Lois would survive the treatments, which Jonathan finds to be nonsensical because she's looking at dying anyway, and I have to agree with him. But Clark hears what's going on from the treatment center and shows up wanting to know what the heck the kids are doing there, even though he already knows because of what he heard when he arrived. And then he and Jonathan get into it before he tells Jonathan to chill the heck out and to go home with Jordan, of course. Back at the chemo treatment, we get another flashback where we see that Bruno invested in his community, partly because he was pissed about something to do with Lex Luthor, and that he seemingly did it with the help of some shady guy. Lois questions Pia about whether or not she knows Bruno, and Pia plays dumb, but Lois isn't buying it, so she kind of pesters Pia, who gets pissed, which causes Lois to lose faith in her thinking. Clark goes to visit Mannheim as Clark this time, under the guise of interviewing him, and points out that while his investments make money, the hospital isn't making money. And he questions him about what he's doing with sick criminals. Meanwhile, Jordan tries to stop Jonathan from spying on their parents by snooping through their stuff back at the farm, but he's unsuccessful as Jonathan finds Lois's will in a drawer. Sarah and Chrissy clash when Chrissy shows up at Kyle's to go with he and Sarah to a movie, which Sarah decides to pass on, but then changes her mind about and decides to go to with Chrissy when Kyle can't make it because he gets stuck at work. Mateo arrives at Nat and John's house for lunch, and John pretty much acts like a jerk. Lois smooths things over with Pia, who it seems is genuinely a good person, just trying to survive her disease, whatever her involvement with Mannheim might be. John goes to visit Lana to talk about how he acted like a jerk, which apparently he did because he's terrified of Nat dating, which she seems to be doing successfully as she and Mateo share a little smooch before going into the movie theater.
Aww.
Clark and Mannheim argue over whether or not the methods that Clark thinks Mannheim is engaging in, which he is engaging in, despite his denials, are ethical. Pia is forced to come clean about being married to Mannheim when he shows up to see her after Clark forces his hand, when he realizes that Mannheim is doing what he's doing because he's trying to save someone he loves, who in this case is Pia, who declares her love for Mannheim in a rooftop ceremony before ringing the bell to signal the end of her cancer treatment. Lana and John go for a walk after their talk and apparently dinner, and they come upon Nat and Mateo making out outside the movie theater. And John goes to have a talk with Mateo, during which the two of them come to a friendly understanding about the situation. Lana then notices Sarah and Chrissy coming out of the movie together and enjoying each other's company. When Clark and Lois return home, the boys confront their parents about how they're not being leveled with. It turns out that the reason Lois isn't being treated by Kryptonian tech is because then they would have to share that technology with everyone else who needed it, since it wouldn't be fair not to, and the risk to the public would outweigh the benefits. Lana and Sarah talk about how Lana's feeling, and the two of them decide to try to just be present and to have a little fun by lighting off some of Kyle's fireworks that he left at the house. And when I say fireworks, I mean fireworks like the big kind that go up in the air and you can see from miles away. It was pretty cool, actually. Before the episode ends, we see another flashback in which Pia used her onomatopoeia powers to kill the shady character that Mannheim was dealing with, as well as all of his henchmen, instead of killing Mannheim as the shady guy who I guess she worked for wanted her to. And then we see that she and Mannheim are Mateo's parents. And that's where the episode ended. So, wow. This show continues to be very moving. It continues to give us characters and plot points that really make you feel the human condition and think about life and love and all of those things. And it's just, I sound like a broken record. And a record, kids, if you're watching, is a thing that used to have sound on it that we used to put on a player and play before CDs. CDs are these smaller discs made out of plastic that we used to play music on in a machine that read it with a laser. But it's just a quality TV show, and that's all there is to it. I really care about all of these characters. I didn't think I would in the first season. And again, I say this every week, but I do. I care about Lana. I want her to be okay. I care about Kyle. I want him to be okay. Of course, I care about Clark and Lois, and I want them to be okay. I care about the boys, and I want them to be okay. I don't really care about Nat for some reason, but I care about John, and I want him to be okay. And I like Mateo, although I'm a little suspicious that he's so nice, but I don't think he has any ulterior motive. He's just super nice. I even find myself feeling for Mannheim, who's supposed to be the bad guy. But ultimately, he's a good guy who's trying to help people. And even the criminals he's working with are undergoing what he's doing to them voluntarily. So, and he's probably a little sloppy about it and not really doing a good job of dealing with the fallout from the treatments that he's, using on them the way he should be. But ultimately, he's driven by love. And that's just incredibly moving and incredibly thought provoking. And, even Pia, who freaking killed people, is, I think, a good person, a three-dimensional person with feelings and hopes and dreams and pain. And it just comes through in the writing, it comes through in the acting. It's just a super quality show, to the point where I enjoyed this episode quite a bit, and there wasn't a single moment of Superman in the suit in it. He only ever moves at super speed once when he goes to see the boys at the fortress, but he does it in his Clark, clothes. Yet I found this to be a very enjoyable episode of television. I liked where it took the characters. I like how it made me feel for them, which again, it does not only through the writing, but the acting. Even the kids are good. And it's just an amazing show every week. So that's really it. Nothing more to say. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back to review the next episode once it airs. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.